Incoming message.
These outfits are quite revealing, one might say.
I mean, you got to be proud of what you got.
So this Good Morning America anchor was reportedly causing a stir at ABC with the execs because he was leaving very little to the imagination from his photos and his biking tone.
Yo, they have it blurred. Why they hate on my man, yo? He had the beef on display.
What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work. Man, I miss having my grill, bro. You know, I was putting watermelons on the grill back in the day. You remember?
See, this is why we can't have good things.
You know, I was out here.
All right, so the mop sauce, you looking at the file cap. What would be the Kyle alternative cooking method for your next barbecue?
Shopping cart.
Shopping cart barbecue.
The shopping cart grill, bro. You didn't see one of them?
It sounds real unhoused, but I'm going to let you get that
you
off,
gotta
bro.
get one of the silver joints, one of them big, heavy-duty Home Depot joints, you know?
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength. We give you an inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I got a gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do. Make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Hey, yay!
Brother Jones.
What's the word?
How you feeling this week, my friend?
I've had a week.
Talk to me about it.
Man, you know how we famously come on here and we talk about that one day that just be busy and it's jam-packed, like we spoke on having days like that. It's New York. Sometimes people throw everything all on the same day.
Yeah.
I had one of those days this week, and that happened to be Thursday.
Okay, talk to me about this Thursday,
Man,
brother.
It started with my 6:30 session in Dumbo. I'm still very much a personal trainer. I think people forget that. So I still have a legacy client and clientele that I keep up with. So my 6:30 session is pretty regular. Then I was back to the crib, the costume change, to go back to Dumbo for a wellness showcase, Stone. I know we're probably going to speak on that a little bit later, but that's a back and forth or a back-to-back, if you will, all before 10:30.
I feel you on that, man.
In that wellness showcase, you know, we left with the goodie bags, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, shout out to everybody at the Jack Taylor Wellness Showcase, for sure, over there at Paddle House.
And then from there, Tone, I went and had lunch at LinkedIn.
Okay.
Now, I signed the NDA. I don't know what all I can and can't say on it, but I'm going to still speak on it because I was in there right now. I want to paint this picture.
You know what those letters stand for, right?
Yeah, I do know what it stands for.
You're about to disclose some non-disclosed.
No, it ain't like we sharing business secrets. You get what I'm saying?
Who got the files, Kyle? Let me know who's working the files over
I don't
there.
got no emails, dog. I ain't got nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I signed in like I was supposed to. Now, back to this lunch. You know, in school when you have to pick where you're going to sit very early on, it's like territorial almost. It's like, all right, what table am I going to sit at? That was a layer to it. But then also the cafeteria was broken up into like countries, like regions. You know, they had the Mediterranean section. There was some mussels over there. I personally had the jerk chicken. They had the little Asian food section where you could go get the stir fry, rip it up. Fam, it was crazy. All of this is on the house. You know what I'm saying? It's there for you.
So you want to be startup Kyle now?
Maybe. I got like some ideas.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying? I can push some ideas.
Ideas worth spreading, man.
I can put some pen and paper and we can talk about it. We can have a chat, a little fireside chat, if you will.
All it took was the jerk chicken to get you on board. You was a rebel without a cause until they finally got you in there.
The downside is, and you know, people might talk bad about me for this. It was boneless jerk chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Kyle,
it was
all of the different countries that you just named, all that cuisine was commonly made by Guatemalans, Kyle. I don't know why you sitting here thinking like you got authentic anything in there. Stop it.
I want to know the last time you had mussels for lunch at no cost.
Let me let you know.
Readily available,
The
Tone.
Mediterranean, same Central American homies was chefing that up too.
There was still
Shout out
stir
to all
fry
my peeps
available.
out there, man. I just want you to pay attention to the fact that the description of your long day, the longest part of it is all about the food.
For sure. My bad. I got caught up in the food. Because this was a free meal. That was a nice, fancy meal. You know what I'm saying?
I'm happy for you.
So after that, I'm sorry. Let's move the story along. I'm taking a little too long. So I taught a yoga class after that at LinkedIn.
You did that. You actually had a purpose for being there.
That was the whole reason to be there. I was too busy all on the kombucha. You know what I'm saying? Living my best life. And
it's like he checked in 4 hours ago.
I had to check out, bro. I forgot. I was like, yo, you gotta check out, fam. I said, oh, my bad. Let me get my badge.
Kicked you out?
I ain't get kicked out. You know what I'm saying? I left willingly, but yes, I did have to be escorted out. Now, I finished the night at Trader Joe's on a Thursday, bro. Now, Trader Joe's on a Thursday is high-level adulting only because I ain't have to buy food for the weekend, because normally that's when I be outside and spending the most money on food. But when you grocery shop that late in the week, you're stocked up, man.
Okay. I'm happy for your adulting and your indulgences all at the same time, my friend.
Never go grocery shopping hungry. That's rule number one.
And I hope you wasn't hungry after all of that.
I'm just saying. You never should. That's a bad idea. But yeah, I had a nice 3-course lunch and called it a day.
We need the culinary adventures of Kyle Jones.
How was your week,
up.
man? I feel like Thursday was that's how my week
your one
was.
Day was the whole week.
But that's how the whole week felt. You know, I had a bunch of other stuff. How was your week, brother?
It was definitely, it had some up and downs for sure. I do think that on my side of that Thursday, I had a pretty busy day too. So yeah, we did check out that Paddle House event with Jack Taylor, and got to shout out the brother Ja Washington from Harlem Kettlebell Club for teaching the class over there. Got to also shout out the brother DG, that's Dan Gottlieb, Yoga Dan formerly. Now he's Paddle Dan, and in the House of Paddle.
Yeah.
Dan was just serving him up pretty nice over on that side. And yeah, man, got a chance to see a lot of this different fit tech, move around and see a bunch of people that we've seen before inside the industry. So that's always interesting. On the very same night, I found myself riding to World Trade Center, jumping on the path and making my way out to Jersey to kick it with the brother Ed over there. I know you know his work from Love Yours, everything that he's doing on the artistic concepts, man. We had a solid night just to kick back, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that in the Relax Responsibly section, man. But other than that, bro, I've been reaching out for more collaborations this week. I've been aggressively interviewing and adding extra hours to the work week, which means I had a lot of high ambition to finish off this week, but much like we discussed earlier today, I started to reevaluate some of these situations. I know we've been having some of these conversations before where it's like, hey, how do you know when you're doing too much? I'm gonna tell you right now, I wanted to come out and check out the good brother Hassan is saying, welcome all of our runners into the boardwalk after they finished that Brooklyn Marathon. I'm gonna tell you right now, as soon as I stepped out of bed, my body was like, you better chill.
No.
On some real Amy Winehouse, bro.
You tried to go to rehab.
No, it said you need to go to rehab right now.
Keep your ass home.
Start rolling out these feet, start getting your stretch going. You cannot go any further, man. So I definitely appreciated that humbling moment. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my step back. I'm going to make sure I fully invest in getting this morning set up the right way. And I got everything else rocking the other way. But I know Hassan had them runners coming back in there with an extra burst of energy at the end of that. So shout out to him for doing that, my man. But yo, the other thing, I've been trying to rack my brain out pitching all these damn companies, bro. I feel like this is the season of pitch decks in so many ways.
Curveball. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Fastball.
I gotta give you the video version, the elevator pitch.
Behind the back.
I got the whole actual deck. I got the one sheet. It was like, however many you want, I'm gonna give it to you this way. But when you're physically tired, I don't know if you could really land the best possible pitch that you can as you would otherwise. You know what I mean? So I really had to take a step back, and I really wanted to evaluate some stuff, man. And that's going to get me into this Ask the Professionals this week. Now, Kyle, I know we shared this sentiment before, but I wanted to revisit this and the idea of doing your best versus doing what is required kept coming back up for me this week. So I got a shout out to the Full Transparency podcast with Donnie Wiggins. I think I talked to you about this a long time ago. He's a business coach based out of Atlanta, doing all different types of great work for helping small entrepreneurs get off. But She had one episode where she actually starts to open up and she's going through line by line dreams and nightmares. You remember that?
Yes.
I don't know if I ever sent you the clip, but I definitely remember she was breaking it down.
Times like this.
To rhyme like this.
Yeah.
Had to grind like that, to shine like this. The whole thing is crazy. So when she's breaking it through, she's going through and taking out the lessons from the song and talking about what's required to achieve the results you really want. Now, often, there's times where you feel like you put your best in, kind of like we shared the last time, and your best is not enough. Here's what's required. Here's what your best is. And she talks about how your best might just be the story that you tell yourself to give yourself a convenient exit from falling short on the goal. Now, this all came to a head for me when I was really trying to sit there and evaluate. What's the difference between burnout and this balanced growth, Kyle? And I want to get into that for the Ask the Professionals this week. Now, there's times that you need to try to reframe like your approach to certain things. Like I would have loved to get out there, jump in front of a bunch of runners, have the interviews with them. You know how we trying to do this whole on the move thing. But at the same point in time, burnout was impeding on my schedule for the rest of the day, man. So it would it have been my best if I rode an extra 15 miles in one direction to come back, have to double that distance back to get into Manhattan and make it back over here. I had to take some time off. I had to reflect whether or not I was putting the right priority in line, right? And what's the alignment with my overall growth strategy and well-being. So I wanted to bring this back to getting specific about that goal. Like, what's your current goals that you want to achieve right now, be it in health, wellness, or just personal development? And how are you putting in what's required versus how are you putting in your best?
I think about first just the goal setting aspect of it. Goal setting is something that you really have to do and continuously do as an adult, because at some point there isn't anyone pushing you anymore. You may be able to fall back on if you got kids. You might have your kids as your motivation, as people say.
They're gonna get you over the hump.
Or your partner, maybe. If you by yourself, it's a lot of lonely people out here. That extra nudge is non-existent until you put yourself in that position. So make sure that your goals are smart, right? Those specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, the time. We went through all of that before. Yeah. So go take that self-care book, go read that, watch a YouTube video or something to get where you need to be. But to really know if you are, how did you put it, doing your best or just doing what's required, I think it depends on time, place, and where you are, right?
Yeah, so like just to clarify that, right? So on that goal, you already set your goal. You know what your goal is, whatever the Kyle personal goal is, right?
Yep.
You might feel like you put in your best to achieve that goal to Kyle.
Yes.
But there still might be more required. How do you know, or how do you differentiate between the effort, and how do you really judge how far you're going forward?
There's always going to be more to be done. There's never not going to be work to do, as a blanket statement, regardless of what your goal is and what you're striving for. Additionally, in order to know if what you're doing is effective, I feel like you then have to have some type of quantifiable result. What is your result? And once you have that, then you can use that as a baseline to refer back to. If you set your goal to build more community and then you keep looking up and all you happen to be around is community, then I would say you've achieved that goal. But then what is the next goal? What then happens once you're in that community, right? So once you have a baseline to refer back to, I would even say bounce what your idea of success is off of someone else too. Mm-hmm. Like, what is the outside observance going to do for your goal too? And just check in with folks. We talked to SRJ years ago. He said, yo, ask someone you trust to give a full appraisal of where you are in this goal that you in your mind have, but in reality, how close are you to that? So I think stuff like that can really put you into a position to expand and really kind of chart what your growth can look like.
Yeah, to me, there's always the importance of kind of stratifying what your goals are. Like in any kind of chase, you could look at one thing and it's just like, yo, I got a mountain of shit that I got to get to. Yo, I'm only going to tackle maybe like 3 important things a day. I've come to that realization. It's like, yo, if you are trying to balance a sheet where you're making progress on a day-to-day level and you need to get like 10 important things out, it's not going to happen. And you're only going to set yourself up for failure and frustration if you're trying to make all of these have the same level of importance. I say all that to say appraisal and forgiveness is that balance versus burnout kind of thing. It's like, yo, what am I realistically shooting for? All right, if I try to do all of this, I'm going to burn out. And then none of my stuff that I'm going to do is going to be able to be accomplished.
I like the idea of working on something you know you're bad at, right? Like if it's the admin, whatever the case may be, the weakest part of your game, try to knock out those tasks first because you don't want to do it. You've obviously avoided it. And if you're doing 3 things a day, like I'd like a morning, an afternoon, and an evening goal to set to accomplish for today, I would put 2 of those things that I'm genuinely bad at on the list, and the middle or the third thing being something that I actually enjoy to refill my cup and just keep charting from there.
I like that, Brother Jones. I like that, man. All right. So that's going to be it for the Ask the Professionals this week. And now, Kyle, I want to keep that energy coming into this a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, and a little bit of ugly this week. I want to get into this rip from the headlines, man. And first things up, you know we're still in Mental Health Awareness Month. So this week in Rip from the Headlines, Kyle, I wanted to start off by shouting out Calm and All Trails for joining forces for Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, they are coming together and they're going to be allowing people to hike with all trails. And when you go on a hike, you get to use the Calm app to kind of enhance what you're going through on this hike. So you get 3 free months of the app and you get Sounds of the Trails, which is a collection of featured soothing sounds that take you through 5 of the most sublime hikes that they have across America, Kyle. Now, we've known the benefits of being some forest bathing Negroes on this show.
Yeah.
And I've seen you take a hike more than once on your own accord. How do you feel about hearing about this pairing coming together for Mental Health Awareness Month?
I'm here for Calm because they have been a company that is a wellness company that's been promoting mental health awareness, and they've worked with people like LeBron. So I like that they continue to build on stuff outside of the app, right? Like I love this idea of hiking and pairing it with a soundtrack. I don't necessarily want to hear soothing stuff like
while you're on the trail.
While I'm on the hike, like maybe if I take a minute at the top and like have a lunch break somewhere, cool. But as I'm hiking, I want to hear nature, fam. I don't really know if that's helping the way that they think it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some things to be said about, you know, just the action of you being in nature, being in a restorative mental kind of practice itself. So you don't want to denature that. But I do know some people do like that little bit of guided meditation to go along with them. So I got to applaud the effort at least, man. I got to shout out to them for that and look to champion it going further. Now, Kyle, next up in the New York Times, they were talking about if you want to get stronger, Kyle, routine in the gym might be the thing that's holding you back. And it's saying routine is now the enemy. Now, there's always going to be some clickbaity kind of articles that they throw out there every, I'd say, spring turning into summer as soon as people want to get them summer bodies activated.
Hey, you know what?
These are the 10 most overrated exercises that you should ever look at. But in all seriousness, to get the most out of your strength training, they're trying to say that you need to go into progressive overload. Now, Kyle, can you give me a little bit of background about what progressive overload is?
Progressive overload is having something specific that you can incrementally increase over time, especially when you're weightlifting. So via dumbbells, barbell, a cable, like slowly starting to add over time as you get stronger.
Right. And it makes sense that that's something that's going to help you just gain your overall strength. But it's also kind of sensationalist to say that you could come and approach that incremental change without having a routine or a plan to do so. I get why they want it to be there, but, you know, there always are going to be, again, the things that just catch your attention, but there's going to be the things that are tried and true. So they had a few different trainers talk about the best exercises to build strength incrementally with. Now, Kyle, would you have any opinions on what you think the best exercises are to build strength incrementally?
5x5s was always the rep, set, and scheme that I would like to build strength with.
Okay.
The most, and 5x5 is being 5 sets, 5 reps, and that's a very high percentage of what you're lifting. That percentage is going to be somewhere in 85 to 90% of whatever your 1 rep max is.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little higher depending on how serious you are with your lifting. But that is my favorite preferred method to really build
Tap
strength.
into that strength.
Yeah, because that's when you really locked in.
What's your favorite strength exercise specifically?
We used to obviously do the basics. It would be a bench. It would be a squat. It would be a shoulder press. A deadlift would be in there. Really Olympic lifting. I even throw a barbell complex in there, a little clean and jerk.
Well, that's all well and good. One of the exercises that a lot of people say that get overlooked is any single leg work to build up your strength. So a lot of people are skipping leg day out here, and they not necessarily locking in on these Bulgarians, lunges, or anything like a step up that really starts to have that high threshold and carry over to all the other moves that you were talking about, Brother Jones. So just trying to lay it out so people play it out. Make sure you get some more single leg work inside your bag. All right. Now, last, I'm going to get into something that sounds pretty ugly on the forefront, and you tell me how ugly it gets to the end, because it took a turn that I did not see coming. Now, Kyle, if I talk to you about the milk industry in general, I know you don't necessarily have the best thoughts, right?
When I was in LinkedIn,
he's going to come back to this damn food.
There was a young lady.
Which country was you over in?
I was in the coffee section, actually. There was a young lady that was in front of us, and she got a latte, so to speak, and she asked for a little bit more milk.
Yeah.
She said whole milk. I was like, ooh, they still doing whole milk in 2024?
Well, let me tell you what
That's
the real
crazy.
big trend in 2024 is. It's not just whole milk, Kyle. It's raw milk. And in an article from the Telegraph, California's wellness devotees are going a little extreme in their raw milk specifically. Now, we talked about different types of recalls that have happened in the food industry before, and they typically come into play when the FDA knows that there's going to be something in this product that is going to cause you harm. We have it proven. There's a certain percentage that they won't say anything for, but after a certain percentage, you'd be like, all right, we losing a couple of y'all, a little too many of y'all. We have to take this back. We have to start to pull these off the shelves. So it was surprising to see that when the raw milk industry had to recall some supplies of milk because it had active bacteria in it that was carrying the bird flu, and it was contaminated. 46 different farms had to pull back some of the supplies that they sent out with milk that was contaminated with the bird flu. People started calling up and ordering that, some of the extreme wellness practitioners out there, because they wanted to, quote unquote, boost their immune systems by purposely drinking this tainted milk. So now there is a lot of people who have, again, different thoughts about alternative medicines, what's going to build up your immune system, what's going to be good for your gut health, what's not. When the FDA is telling you that this is not something that you should ingest, and you go out of your way to contact the farms that are on this list to buy the milk from them, and now there's a demand for tainted milk out there, Kyle. What's your thoughts on how this is playing out, and how do you feel about people drinking this raw bird flu milk?
I have so many things to say, so I'm going to condense them for you and try to display them slowly. First, can you give me a definition of what raw milk, like what makes...
It is unpasteurized and untreated, and you know who is the people that are popularizing this, Kyle. I will give you the one, Gwyneth Paltrow, because at the beginning of all of these crazy alternative
GP, are you with me?
Wellness trends, GP is somewhere to be found.
So let me also get this straight. You take the raw milk and then you put the coffee bean up your ass too.
That's the fastest way to get it back out.
That's the fastest way to go in and out.
It's the coffee enema.
Okay. That was number one.
Now, to be fair, she didn't say that she wanted to drink the bird flu milk, but raw milk is on her list.
Continuing down to the bird flu. Now, when you say bird flu, first thing came to mind for me was OJ the Juice Man and Gucci Man, the bird flu got me, and they was flipping birds. That was a whole nother thing. But then also it took me to this idea of, in college, I had this saying, why buy the cow if the milk is free? You know what I'm saying? And it takes me to this point of understanding that folks are crazy. We should not be drinking milk from animals, especially non-pasteurized.
Bacteria and viruses.
I'm not even confident I know what that means. It just sounds bad. Like, it sounds like it's coming from a cow, like outside that hasn't been cared for. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if it hasn't been cared for, but when you know it's sick and you purposely go out to drink from it, I can't really say
it hasn't been cared for. Like it's drugged up, it's chemically induced.
No, it's missing all of that. See, that's why I thought the organic thug side of you would appreciate this, man.
No,
You
I'm not
straight
here for raw milk. That's where I draw the
straight
line.
Organic.
You know, the raw milk that I have comes from inside my body, and you know,
I don't even know what that means. That
is the nourishment.
That's going to be
for
it from
a particular
this week
person in
episode of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Kyle, what'd you see in your side of Rip from the Headlines this week, my friend?
Sliding out of that, we're going to get into a little good, bad, and ugly myself this week. Now, starting off with the good tone, you know my favorite artist who I've been talking about lately, Nina Chanel Abney.
Yes, salute.
She has an opening today.
Okay.
And it's for a exhibit that will be called Lie Doggo, right? It's in a gallery that's upstate, the Jack Shaman Gallery. It's very well known in the art world, but they have like a school that's upstate. So it's going to be up from today, from the time you hear this until about October is when it's going to be showing. I wish I could have drove up, but I was too busy. I ain't had a 3-hour drive in me today. We had a lot of other things, but I'm speaking about this because it's very rare that you see an artist on their journey be able to do so many different things, you know, and just kind of witness it. And I feel like I'm just in it, you know, like it's kind of hard to not see it when it's like, yo, you really working. So I got to shout her out and appreciate that. I ain't going to dive too deep into what the exhibit looks like, but there is some watermelon involved, and she did pull out the watermelon pants tone. Now, I wanted you to just look at this fit real quick and see if that's something that would be, you know, up my alley, so to speak.
That is very Jones-esque.
You see it, right?
I see that for you, man.
The chore jacket to the watermelon pants, man, the swag was on point. So
I see that for you.
That was the good.
What was Nina Chanel Abney first made famous for?
I couldn't tell you what the first thing was just because it's been so long. I know that I guess you would call this type of art, I don't even have the actual verb for it. You know what I'm saying? Like contemporary sounds right.
Okay.
It's definitely modern. It's very black. It's a lot of shapes involved. It's real geometric, so to speak. Like, but she's touched everything from a Meek Mill album cover to a pair of Jordans to murals to openings.
Yeah, I think the reason why I wanted to know, because it's like, I think that first thing that you get that win for is what gives you the key to open up all those other doors.
Couldn't even tell you what the first one is. I'm going to go back and do my research.
Yeah, but you just keep, like, in all of those things, even the Meek Mill cover, I could see the Meek Mill cover DNA in all of her work.
Yep.
Right? Just like in that Jordan 2, you could see, okay, I could see why that person would make this thing. Right? It's all on the same line.
She bounced back with the 3, though. She came back with the 2-3. You know what I'm saying?
The like, yeah, it's like a mid 3, though, right?
No, it's a regular 3, but I'm saying she bounced back with the look. The two wasn't really 2ing.
But either way, I'm saying like it's all in the same. It's coming from the same mind and the same atmosphere.
For sure.
So you get that first victory. I think they give you a lot.
What I appreciate is she remixed the Jordan logo, and I feel like a lot of people didn't see that. Like that went over people's heads too. It's a little more geometric.
Yeah, but it's her language, is what I'm saying. She's developed a style and a language that you could see translate into a lot of different mediums. So I think it's important to just detail that.
For sure. So I'm appreciative of that in that language, and aspire to have my own language one day where you can know that that's a Jones.
I like it.
When you see it. Now, we got to get into a little bad tone. Now, this story came from TikToks, right? And there happens to be a Good Morning America anchor by the name of DeMarco Morgan, Tone.
DeMarco Morgan.
DeMarco Morgan. Now, DeMarco Morgan is a Good Morning America anchor, as I just alluded to, but he has a pastime of biking.
Okay.
That he likes to bike frequently.
Salute.
Now, he's a road biker, Tone. Now, can you give context to people so they can understand a road biker?
I mean, so it can vary a lot of different ways. So I ride a road bike.
But I'm talking
You're talking about the traditional, like the Strava definition of the mammal road biker.
Yes.
That's the middle-aged man in Lycra. That's that man who spent a lot on this bike. He is covered head to toe in what looks like a wetsuit, but he's dry. and he's
It's
walking around.
neoprene or
Yeah.
like some other polyester nylon type of fabric.
Yeah, and he can't commit to putting his full foot down because he's clacking back and forth because he's got the full lock-in cleats.
Now let's stay there on this outfit. Now, these outfits are quite revealing, one might say.
I mean, you know, you got to be proud of what you got.
So this Good Morning America anchor was reportedly causing a stir at ABC with the execs because he was leaving very little to the imagination from his photos and his biking tone.
Yo, they have it blurred. Why they hate on my man, yo? He had the beef on display. He's putting beef in the window. It's like, don't be mad.
Now, we live in a world where women have freed the nip.
This is body shaming. I won't stand for it.
You know, underwear don't be worn. There's a lot of folks that go commando these days. Like, is it wrong to call a male out for, you know, a visible display?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it's wrong because of the pain that you got to feel riding a bike like that. It's like, dog, you might want a little bit of extra protection on your situation.
I don't know what he got going on or what kind of saddle he's riding, but this guy is out here in full salute, apparently. And that was a scandal. So you do with that as you will. Slide out of that, Brother Tone.
He's giving a whole different definition to eyewitness news. He's like, wait a second.
Now, we talk about functionality, right? Now, when you think about a functional workout, Tone, what comes to mind for you?
Something that involves a movement that resembles activity that you do on your day-to-day basis.
Now, can that be sport specific or can that also be job specific?
Yes, and.
Okay, I bring to you the rave workouts, Tone.
Okay.
Now, the rave workout starts with a young lady on a treadmill carrying another
young lady.
individual, because if you've been to a rave, you know someone is going to pass out. The next exercise was how to squat over a toilet if you have to go to a porta potty, and then also running through the crowd. Tone, how do you feel about the functionality of the work that you're seeing right now?
This is hysterical, and it's kind of accurate. I say yes, on board. We got to give it a thumbs up. The crowd shove is crazy. I don't ever want to be in a crowd where people are pushing me like that.
The mosh pit crowd is wild because there are people that are dying at concerts, bro.
You shouldn't get into a mosh pit. It's like, that's on you at that point.
Everybody doesn't have that, you know, but I did think that this was very functional. We've got to move stages, the stage equipment work with the farmer's carry.
It's real.
It's real out here, man. So shout out to this TikToker out here making the rave workout.
I'm definitely saluting it.
Now we got to get into a little raising the bar segment, Tone.
Let's raise it up, my brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners from all type, from near and far, you now store to raise your bar. And Brother Tone,
What's going on, Kyle?
today we are gathered for a word
That's the type of shit you want already?
from the book of Jones today. Verse Cush,
No.
chapter Corinthians, if you will.
You're going to get struck down right now.
Let's raise this bar up. Now, first I would like to start with a couple quotes that came to mind this week. And we're going to start with one and build on it and so forth. First quote that comes to mind is, uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments.
Yep.
Neil Strauss. I don't know who that dude is, but he was dropping bars that day. That brother was spitting.
I see it.
When I say that, Tone, what comes to mind for you?
I think we talked a little bit about management of expectation before. And the best way to get yourself in that position of resentment or frustration is to have higher level of expectation for somebody that's not yourself. You know, you're trying to manage a person outside of you, what they do, how they want to go, and all the rest of that kind of stuff, and you don't really have a good grasp on why your observation might not be what their reality is. That's a good way to get you in that position.
See, for me, I feel as though expectations inherently are already very personal. These are your own thoughts and beliefs. And if you don't share that, if you don't communicate that to people, then how will they know that? And that is the recipe for, again, premeditated resentment, because you're building up all of this hostility that manifests into an explosion because you couldn't communicate how you wanted the outcome to be, or what the ideal outcome would look like via your expectations.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things that hit home. I was like, man, you talk about it, you hear it, and then you get to a point where it's like, man, people spitting.
Why do you think that is, though?
Why do I think what is?
Like, why do you think people have a hard time communicating really what it is that they want, and instead expect somebody else to, like, precognitively understand what you're trying to get to and get mad about the difference between the two?
The world that we live in today, it's full of distractions.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things pulling you 10 different ways, and it takes a toll on you, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether it is emotionally, whether it's physically. And it makes it even harder for people to be deliberate about what it is that they want. When you have 100, 200, so many different options of what it could be, what it should be, it could look like this. I kind of want that, but this day it changes when the wind blows, right? So to have a clear-cut expectation means you have to fully envision what it is that you want and can articulate it and can share that and build on it. A lot of people aren't there. There's a lot of people that have ideas but don't have the execution for that idea, right? You can see the end goal of what it might look like, but the start, the incremental progress just isn't there because you're too distracted.
That clear-eye view that Meek was talking about. He's
part.
bringing it in there, man. Yeah, I think the other part to that also, not to derail you, but there's a very easy path that you can find yourself on where your voice and your reflection in the world is the only thing that you think is the real definition of how the world is.
That part.
And I think that's the prevalent narrative that's happening in our society right now. So many people think that because I feel this way, that's how all people feel.
No.
It's like, wait a minute. You got to get that validated. You got to bounce some of these ideas
What did
off
that brother Kenji say? The map is not the territory?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because it's a map, that don't mean that is reflective of all that's happening in there, you know?
Exactly.
Google Maps ain't updated all the way. Sometimes it'll tell you to go down the street that ain't there no more. You know what I'm saying? You got to stay abreast. Now, speaking of staying abreast, shout out the brother Ricky Shubio.
Salute.
Mr. Space Camp Fresh. Now, he posted... Exactly. That brother posted a thread the other day. He's pretty active on threads. He might be the only person that I might look at from time to time. But,
okay.
All right, this is my guy. Now, Ricky Shubio said this quote. Sometimes you become such a purist that you become an elitist.
Yep.
And I was like, damn. Kind of, hit you in the chest one time, right there. Stop your breath. And it hit me because I identify as a purist. In biking, like I ride a fixie with no brakes because I feel it's a pure ride. In hip hop, I love, elevated drug rap, you know what I'm saying? Luxury street raps, if you will. Like that's the pure art for me. Sneaker culture, the shoes that I buy, the clothes that I wear, the food that I eat, Tone. I want the best.
Stop talking about the damn food.
The best. I'm talking to LinkedIn bone out jerk chicken. It was a breast is what it was. Titty boy. Now, when I talk about the purity again, I'm really talking about all the different facets in life that reflect the choices that I make. Now, stay with me. This is the build part. This is where I'm coming in. At what point does the love for purity turn into elitism? And is elitism all bad if you are striving for greatness?
I think if you live long enough, you just realize that you're going to be a hypocrite about a lot of stuff.
A little bit of everything.
It's like you're going to have some exceptions to your rules. And then you're going to have those rules that when the wrong person steps over them, you're going to be livid about the wrong person stepping over those rules.
In high school, my prom date senior year used to smoke weed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't smoke. I hated it. I was like, man, you always smoking weed. Your breath stink. You high. You're going to be a junkie later in life. Like, it was
Look at all that
very
elitism.
so much elitism. I smoked before I got here. I'm going to smoke as soon as we finish with the mic. Like that. But time has changed and healed a lot. So,
Hypocrite. I told you, if you live long
I'm the
enough.
biggest hater. I hate the way you look. I hate my gums because they turning black. I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck.
That's how you feel. So yeah, I've lived long enough to see that, and yeah, man, it's tough to hold a standard for something that you love. I think that elitism comes from really what's your memories and what's your associations with a time specifically in life that this whatever you are coveting had a defining moment for you, or you identified so much of who you are about that thing, right? And when you see it change, it's almost as if you have to change to now accept what this new reality of it is, right? So at least in the lens of hip hop culture, that's where you see so many of the elite people from kind of the older generation. You never really hear the ultra young, super elite person where they're just kind of like, nah, yo, new shit is the only shit that you need. All this old shit is trash. I mean, they kind of go back and forth, but the olders, nah, y'all messing it up. Y'all keep changing. I don't know what they rapping about now. You know, that whole thing. It's what's my identity tied to? And I'm fighting for this more than I'm actually fighting even for the substance of what's going on, you know? And I can understand why change can be perceived as something that is ill in the wrong person's eye, you know? And I could also see why not having any rules is also kind of trash. This is like when you can't conform to anything and that's the only game that you're playing, some of that is just bullshit too. So there's got to be something that's in the middle where you can take, you know, the coveted items, but then also allow somebody else to define it themselves, whatever their reality is based off of. The world is not only the way that Tony needs to look at it.
And that's kind of the space that I've been in of identifying when I'm only in my world and in my head and in my thoughts as opposed to how other people could feel. I would have previously defined elitism as people that have entitlement, that like they feel entitled to this, like, and there are things that are beneath them, so to speak. It's like I'm too good for this, and I deserve that. Are like the sentiment that I would associate elitism with, but the other side of it for me also being, well, I like quality in life, and I think in order to appreciate quality, you have to understand the work that it takes to afford or to make or create an environment for something like that to even exist in, right? And I'm not around to settle for less, right? And that's where I think the elitism kind of plays out in my mind, you know, of like, well, I don't feel entitled to anything, but I also know that if I worked my ass off to get to this point,
yeah,
you damn right I'm gonna have some caviar on a Wednesday and a PB&J on Thursday just cause.
It's a sick mix.
It's a balance though. You know what I mean? Like
I want to say there's something in there that reminds me of just discernment versus any kind of putting somebody else down, right? So just because I have my own discernment and I want to think about something or have preferences that are different than other people's, if I just keep that self-contained, that's really just me talking about the things that I care about, that I like, and this is what my standards are. That sounds like it could be a space for healthy boundaries, right? If I take my observations on all those things and then start putting somebody else down based on that, that's where I think it gets a little funky. That's when I think the elite side starts to come out.
You don't deserve to be here.
Right? So it's not so much elite because you want to choose something that's better than, quote unquote. It's that when you're making that comparison that's better than, you're also putting somebody else down. I think that's where it gets destructive.
I never want to put people down. Live your best life. It looks good on you.
There we go.
Sliding out of that, Tone, we can only go into a brief pit stop.
Okay.
Into today's calisthenics. Now, can you tell the good people, Tone, who is the today's calisthenics section sponsored by?
Now, I'd like to pause. But since we're getting into this calisthenics, Kyle, you know the calisthenics is about premium body movement, Kyle. So there couldn't be anybody else that was bringing you this other than the On the Move bag by Off the Strength, Brother Jones.
That is right. The only bag that got your back.
The only crossbody bag that has your back. That's right. The on-the-move bag by Off the Strength allows users, Kyle, to not just be fashionable, but also functional in their strength training, their flexibility, or just their overall movement regime. That's because that bag can turn into a suspension trainer when you're on the road and you're trying to get the best out of life, Kyle. You know, the on-the-move bag by Off the Strength. We got your back. Okay. Tell them how today's calisthenics is going to break down, Brother Jones.
Now, today's calisthenics is a mental lift, if you will.
Yes, sir.
We doubling down on the self-help and the healing.
Okay. Shout out to Mental Health Awareness Month. We back in that.
Now, are you aware that it has now officially been 9 months since I tore my Achilles?
No, I did not.
And it has been a journey, Tone.
Wow.
Now, 9 months of an Achilles tear with no surgery, right? And I'm just taking this time out to really reflect on, like, I healed, like, over time, and not because I was in PT and I went to the doctor. The healthcare system is still wild, fam. I could have gotten it was easier for me to get a surgery than it was to get an MRI. I don't even know how that makes sense. It's like, yo, you want surgery? We can get you in on Tuesday. You want an MRI? We got to clear that. It might be like 3 weeks. What?
They're just going to cut.
How does that work? That don't even make sense, right?
It's trying to give you that ankle BL, friend.
But
Chopping so.
The ankle BL is crazy because we talked about the knee BL out here. And BBL just, hey, it stays in my head, man. Thinking about this journey, though, it really has been a moment to not only heal myself, but to help others along the way. I think there's so many people that tear their Achilles when you get into the demographic. If you Google Achilles tear, the textbook literally says men 30 to 50 who be doing too much. Like, that's what it says in the text. Like, and it always, from that, it says basketball, football, trying to live like they still 20. Like, all of those are all listed as the prerequisites. So I'm like, damn, I don't want to be amongst that list, even though I'm in that list. But how many of those people did the work themselves and healed themselves? Now, I ain't out here running and jumping and flying like MJ just yet, but I'm getting back in the gym and I'm ready to touch that basketball again in August. So I got about 3 months to really hit it hard to get the ankle and the knee and the calf where it needs to be, but I'm healing, man.
This is where we need the Organic Thug training montage to start up.
Just me on the Rocky shit, just running up steps. Don't worry, it's on the way. Now,
I need that.
Before we get out of here, talk to me about your healing process, because you also went through a journey from being hit by a car on a bike. Like, fam, like, present day, I know you said you don't put too much stock into almost dying, but like, real rap, fam. Like, talk to me about your healing journey.
Yeah, it's still ongoing, and it's something that I definitely pay attention to, the life post all of the surgeries that I did have to have. That wasn't even elective. It was kind of like, yo, your foot looks like a cloud, dog. It's like, you want to use that again? You got to really be alert and attentive to it. I think what comes up to me today, or what comes up for me today in that whole healing process and journey, is really being understanding of the way I can push my new normal. So before, we talked about, again, those external validation sources, or like the, looking at the scoreboard and you're like, okay, I remember I used to lift this, I used to lift that, I used to do whatever, right? Today is so much more of I'm hyper focused on what my internal climate is inside my body and all of my movements. Because half of my body literally had to be rewired and restructured. So I could feel when something feels slightly off. And that makes me take the ego to the side and say, okay, how does it feel to just make this feel okay? So that's any lift now, any bipedal lift. I got to really make sure that it's like, okay, think about where my foot needs to be. Think about where my ankle needs to be. When we're riding around on the bike, I can feel one leg want to take over more than the other side. So really being deliberate about, okay, when I do feel that fatigue, what do I need to do to restore this? Where do I need to go with that? And before you're getting hurt, I don't know, or before I got hurt, I don't know if I had that same level of appraisal for literally the nuance inside of, okay, I know exactly what moves I need to do to make this discomfort that I'm feeling stop from happening. So it really is a source for me to check in with, like, okay, how am I going to move today? How am I feeling today? And this is how I need to show up for it in my movement practice.
It sounds like a very accountable and hefty amount of self-appraisal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just checking in. I love the idea of working in first, like working in to then work out. I think a lot of people focus on the working out aspect of like, I need to lift this weight or I need to do that. Like you said, keeping track of the scoreboard of those numbers and don't do enough internal work to see, well, is this movement correct for my body? Like, is this the positioning that I need to be in?
And bringing it all the way back full circle, like the shit that is the hardest is the stuff that I have to start doing to make sure that I feel that balance to get back to the other day. Like, yo, dog, no joke, this week, I humbled myself with them damn Copenhagen planks and like lifts from that side angle.
When you start to get into different countries' exercises, bro, that's when you draw the line. When you get your Romanian on,
exactly.
You know, you getting your what's the lean back, the Nordic
curls. I did a bunch of those. So all of that is like, yo, these are the exercises that most people are skipping.
Got my Russian twist on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Anytime you're working on the hamstrings, adductors, all the rest of that kind of stuff to get the hip to really function the right way, I could tell you I feel the discomfort immediately because it's just kind of like, whoa, we're not even destabilizing is a whole new ball game now on this post-surgical leg. And you talk about humbling. To be like, all right, let me just stay sagittal real quick. I could deadlift, I could squat. I don't need to do anything else. It's like, all right, now do that slightly to the right. It's like, oh, shit. Wait a minute. My whole world is upside down. So
you just dropped so much on the folks that I know that they don't know, but we going to hopefully hope one day that they will get to that sagittal plane language. But before we get into the hope, let's talk about the relax responsibly. How are you relaxing this week, brother?
Well, I want to tell you how I was relaxing, but you got to tell me what the Relax Responsibly is brought to you in part by good brother Jones.
The Relax Responsibly segment is brought to you in part by Frequency Movement, my goddamn roll up and roll out class, Tone.
Okay.
8 p.m. Wednesdays, that's when we get the people together and we cultivate some space to stretch and create some space, you know, and relieve the tension through the week. So it's the middle of the week, it's a Wednesday. So everything you did over the weekend, plus that Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday you come release so that your Thursday and Friday you can do your two-step, your tango, whatever it is you need to do, make it on through the week with the best goddamn roll up and roll out class, Tone.
Okay, they bringing out all that stress. They walk out feeling a lot more relief and they get to relax. Okay, Kyle, now take me through the relaxation, brother.
This week was a lot of self-care, bro.
Okay.
We talking about redefining men's wellness.
Yep.
I had an insecurity, man. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm vulnerable. I'm gonna put it on the mic. Felt like I was drinking a lot of coffee and the teeth was getting a little tinted.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I had to get into my whitening strips.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I need it. You ever want something humbling? Go ahead and take a piece of toilet paper.
Wait.
And just put it next to your tooth.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, no. I don't know where you was going with that. What I'm gonna tell you is just take one little sheet of toilet paper off, put it next to your tooth, and it's gonna let you know how white your teeth is.
The
right?
Compare and contrast wasn't doing it.
Even in the dark light, it wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I need to get myself together. So stuff like that, and from there it kicked off the rest of the week. Man, I'm talking when you set time aside to clip your fingernails and your toenails. You know what I'm saying? I've been back in the gym consistently. I've been biking again. Leisurely, Tone. That's the key, is a leisure bike ride. It used to just be the commute, the back and forth to work every day, but like a leisure bike ride is a new thing. And I got up with the brother Hassan Hussein, man. I was able to actually step out and cut a rug a little bit.
Okay.
So it was a full-on week of relaxation.
I like that for you, my man. I like that for you. So it just backpedal a little bit. When you're feeling a little off of, your kilter, you feeling a little like, oh, damn, I ain't hitting him with the full Jones today. One of your go-tos is a step out. Get your little two-step on.
Two-step on down, you know what I'm saying? Let the shoulders loose, you know what I mean?
I support that, man. I love that for you, brother. Kyle, I told you a little earlier that I got to kick it with the brother Ed out in Jersey, and that was really the Relax Responsibly side that I had this week.
Looked like y'all was finger painting. What that was?
We did get to paint, man.
Okay.
And I really haven't done anything that was like that expressionate artistically in a long time. So we working on a collaboration of some custom pieces for the clothing line peddlers out there. And yeah, if you know Ed's art, you can see what it's inspired by. He's very much a writer, but he's also very connected to street art, and all the different messaging that he puts inside his pieces really reflect his family. So when I got a chance to step inside the house and actually spend some time with these people, man, it was super relaxing. You know, we got to not only talk about our different ideas, what's inspiration, what's, really driving some of these pieces that we're going to bring together. But I was sitting back and we was kicking it with the folks, man. So I got to chopping it up with his uncle. You know it, man. We was in there. We was having the real soul-stirring conversations, man. You know, just being in environments like that where you can see the whole family is a part of this artistry.
What y'all was eating, though?
You know what? There wasn't no damn food. I'm going to be honest with you on that. We skipped that part because it was a little late. We had all the paint going.
No nothing.
It was an opportunity to go pick it up. See, you keep bringing it back to food. This man is hungry. We're going to have to get him off the mic and get this man some food.
Food revolves everything around me. You know what I'm saying? So
we got our art on, and that was the way I was relaxing. I did not get the food until I got home, man. But you know what? I was hopeful when I got in there, man, that these better days is going to come and maybe we can break bread with all these good family members out here, this extended tribe. So that's what I'm hopeful for coming into this week. Brother Jones, what are you hopeful for, my man?
I'm hopeful for the stars to continue to align.
Okay.
And that the work that we do does not become easier, but the outcomes and the reach becomes greater.
I definitely need that greater reach, my man. And you know what? When we're reaching out to these good people, Kyle, we need to make sure that they understand that they too can be a part of this Off the Strength experience. They could be a part of the coalition of the willing right here live on the block of the Rock. God, where could they find us if they want to get in touch with us?
They could find us at _. That is on IG. Now, if you're in New York City, that is the greatest city in the world. You can come on down to Rockefeller Center and see us live and direct at the bottom, but also the block of the Rock Tone.
That's right.
If you can't make it, then you can go to IG at Rockefeller Center or Twitter at Rock Center NYC.
I feel like we keep trying to polish up this apple, but the New York apple looking a little browner every day, my man. We're going to get to it.
It's the rotten apple. That's what we dwell on.
We got anything else we're going to leave the people with?
I seen a worm the other day. He was
just moving on down.
He was sad the Knicks lost. You know?
That's exactly where we at. That's where the only thing we got hope for, and we don't even have hope in that, man.
Oh, man.
You got anything else you want to bless it with?
Wash your damn hands.
Still in effect. Don't skip any steps, man. Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to everybody out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace. And cut. Print.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blog. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.